Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the LFC Toronto Show. My name's Azaz. I've got Jake and Dan as now always, and we have a very special member of the LFC community with us today. Welcome, Liam.
Wow, quite the build-up. Hello, everyone. How are we?
We're good. We're good.
Good.
Good to see you, lad.
Yeah, man.
So what we want to know before we get into our agenda, which is pretty packed today, is tell us your LFC origin story. Like, what made you a Liverpool fan, and even a bit about how you find yourself. Yeah, and even how you find yourself in Toronto today.
Wow, that's mindful of the time. I'll keep my origin story brief. So basically, you'll notice a few similarities, I think, with the Evies in that it's sort of an inherited by birth kind of thing. My dad and my sister are both Reds. And in actual fact, I think I got my first shirt, like a tiny little thing, when I was about 4 years old. Went to my first game at Anfield when I was 8. I seem to recall I think it was a 2-1 victory against Tottenham. I can't remember who scored for us, but I remember that Paul Stewart bizarrely scored the consolation goal. Future Liverpool flop Paul Stewart scored the consolation goal for Tottenham. And then, went to games where I could. And in fact, I went to the sort of ignominious last game where the Kop was still a terrace, home against Norwich.
Wow.
Like I say, an ignominious 1-0 defeat. That was sort of like an inglorious end to the old Kop. I've just been following them ever since. And, I've been in Toronto about coming up for 7 years now. Although it took me probably several months, and actually my sister and the family visiting to point out where the Liverpool bar in Toronto was, because it's like they were on vacation while I was working, and then they pointed out, we went to this place over on St. Clair. So yeah, that's
shout out Scallywags.
Shout out to the family. Yeah,
the old school Scallywags.
Yeah.
Wow, I never knew you were at Norwich, man. That was quite the match. Actually, it's a historical match.
Yeah, it's quite.
I love the fact that you've already dropped a Liam into the podcast. Ignominious. No other member of the Liverpool Toronto community would say that word, and yet you've said it a few minutes into this, which is one of the reasons.
Not once, twice.
Billy. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, welcome to the pod. That's what we're jokingly calling it, because it seems to cause some conversation.
Shout out Sam.
LFC Toronto Show, aka the pod. We're so happy to have you. And there's one particular thing we will get into in a minute as to why this is going to be a really good show with Liam with us. But before we do that, Jake, Mr. President, you need to talk to us about where our GTA fans can see the upcoming Carabao Cup Final, which is 2.5 weeks away. How did that happen?
It's actually fantastic. So we've had tickets on our website, free tickets. So we have 3 locations. We've got our home, which is in Madison, right? So everyone knows that. We've also got a new pub, Elephant and Castle, right in front of Roy Thompson Hall. Great venue, great beer selection, good space, fantastic screens. Another place. And myself and Dan will be heading out to Burlington with a host of folks to go to the Sly Fox in Burlington to test out that pub and get that in. So I think all in all, we should have about 600 or 700 people if all works out well in those 3 locations, which is great. It's COVID restrictions, or we would have more. Get your tickets. Go to the website, get your tickets, because they are moving quite fast.
And they're free, by the way, right now to the public. So book it.
Can't emphasize that enough, to be honest with you. As we get closer to the time, these venues will be at capacity. Right now, if you're a member, amazing. Bring your friends, let them know. Even if you want to bring some Chelsea fans, like, we love the band, so whatever it is. But eventually, these things are going to start. Not too many, of course. Well, I mean, it's up to them. If they want to come in with a sea of red, But what I'll say is, as it gets closer, because of the restrictions, we just won't be able to get you in, and it's one of the reasons why the team did. Yeah. You gotta get those bookings in. And yeah, we're back in real life as well, which we'll touch on in a minute, because it was annoying for me because there was a protest in Toronto last weekend, so I couldn't get to the Madison. But how was that, Jake? And Dan, were you there as
great.
well?
I wasn't.
Yeah, so it was great. We, thank the Madison opened up for us, and we got some bagels, coffee. Our good friend Rassam, he brought some sesame spreads, so that was great. And essentially, essentially, we had about 25 people. And you're right, the protest did kind of curb that a little bit, but it was great just to get the family back again, right? Like, we're in the space. Everyone was social distance, they vaxxed and all that kind of QR, everything was sorted out. But it was just great to be in that space again, watching our squad, right, play. And then, of course, getting into the game a little bit, right? We saw some inaugural, the Diaz moments and some great plays, and then Harvey. So, it was a fantastic experience. And we're looking forward to getting back to the other games as well for the near future, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I was bummed I couldn't get up there. I ended up heading back home, and as soon as I saw the pictures and the content coming in, I was like, damn, I missed that whole community vibe. So we are back at the Maddie tomorrow for the Leicester game. Huge game now. Well, it is anyway, but especially with how results went today. And then Sunday as well, Madison's open.
Yeah. Just a small aside, I don't know, for the local Canadians or GTA folks here, I actually subscribed to Sportsnet World for one match and then canceled it right after. I'm one of those guys because I just can't justify the $20 for really FA Cup matches at the end of the day. And that too was because the Winter Olympics and everything. So, but I managed to catch the match, and that was awesome to see some of those moments. But anyway, not to get off on tangent.
You're a smart man to sort of remember to cancel. It's like, I'm probably the idiot that forgets and gets billed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've done it before just like that, and I've left it for months, and I'm like, you know what? I shouldn't really not be paying. Anyway. Yeah.
Last thing on the Toronto stuff, and then we'll get back onto the pitch and what's happening with the squad. I don't know if you've seen on our Instagram, but we just launched a cheeky little, if you're downtown in Toronto and you have a business meeting on Tuesday or Wednesday at 3 p.m., like we all sometimes do, get on down to the Elephant and Castle at King and University. They're hosting our business meetings, those 3 p.m. business meetings on a Tuesday. Next week, it's a Wednesday.
Dr. Klopp.
Dr. Klopp.
I have an appointment there.
An Internazionale conference call. Red attire on the call. We got you, right?
Exactly. Can't wait.
Absolutely.
Bring your laptop. Ready to go. It's a great space and conducive for the work environment and atmosphere.
Yes.
So great space to watch the game.
Yes. Exactly. Bring your laptop, bring your scarf. Bring your laptop, and get ready to cheer on the boys. But it's so cool that we've got 3 different places for the final, 2 different options around the city as well for these upcoming games. Because if anyone's been watching this or talking to me, I'm so friggin' pumped for this next few months. I just feel like being in the 4 competitions, it's not happened often. I kind of feel like 2001 is the only time. And were we really in the title challenge that year? Were Arsenal even in the title challenge in 2001, who were the number one contenders?
That was very much United definitely left everyone in the distance as far as the title went that year. We had more of a shot at winning the league the next year and bombed out in the last few weeks.
Exactly. So first, on pitch topic to talk about is the scourge of our season, apparently, has wrapped up. So many mixed emotions, so much pride, so much hurt as well. I want Dan and Liam to really talk about this, because obviously there's different elements to this. They're both massive Sadio Mane fans. We're all
Oh, yeah.
massive Sadio Mane fans. We're also all
massive Mohamed Salah fans.
Mohamed Salah fans.
And massive.
And then there's another like situation that we can get into. So before we say anything, what do we think about the final and the result?
Well, the final, sadly, I think was a bit of a non-event. It really, as a spectacle, I think it really hinged on the missed Mane penalty, which I think that if that had gone in, fair to say, if Mane had taken a better penalty because it was poor, then we might have seen Egypt have to come out a bit more. I mean, I think it would have benefited the contest as a whole. As it was, I think the missed penalty suited Egypt down to the ground. This was how they got to the final, playing that suffocating football that sort of killed off the Ivory Coast and Cameroon.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was a boring match. I thought, aside from like 4 minutes in, Sadio had the. I mean, it was a clean pen. First of all, I don't know. You guys watched the replay. There was no doubt there.
There's no question at all.
Yeah,
every penalty
really no doubt.
doesn't have. Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say every penalty doesn't have to be contentious. Like penalties, there's just stonewall penalties. Like
there's stonewall, and
yeah.
It goes all the way down the list to far.
Everywhere. It's like I don't think anyone thought it wasn't.
Yeah, no, for sure. And for Sadio again to get up there and take that pen, I felt that whole mix up with Mo and remember like with the Egyptian keeper Gabaski and like it was just quite a comical moment, for an LFC fan. You're just like, what are they talking about? Like, what are they saying? And Sadio and Mo have a relationship, and there's a long history there, and there's one or two contentious moments, and we've all seen the Bobby gif before, if you know what I mean. But other than that, they get along well as far, pals on the pitch, and also bezies in LFC media and such. But it was interesting to see how Sadio coped with that. I mean, so missed the pen. And it's early enough where there was a lot of game left, but Gabaski came up with some big saves. Obviously, Senegal dominated the game, I thought. I mean, Egypt had one or two opportunities. I thought when Trezeguet came on, it was really, he sort of just changed a little bit of the sort of possession and, a little bit of chances here and there. But at the end of the day, I feel for Mo. Obviously, it dampers his chances for the Ballon d'Or potentially this year. I mean, knock on wood. I mean, it's a long way, I get it. But those kind of tournaments sort of cap the, add to your profile, add to your resume, if you will, or your candidacy for the year, a la Messi, a la Ronaldo, that kind of thing. So, sad to see that happen. But again, seeing the scenes in the car and, Sadio on top of the bus and sleeping with the trophy. I mean, hey, listen, I can't, as a massive, my favorite LFC player, right now, Sadio, maybe of all time, I don't know, it's really close for me. Mm-hmm. Sadio is actually that for me. So, it's just great to see that. Yeah. What do you think, Jake?
I mean, first of all, I thought you were going to talk about this.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into that right now. Would you have a kit? I love that
for a moment. You know what was very interesting though, that Mo went to the keeper and said, "You know what? Sadio's going to put the ball. He's going to kick the ball here," and Sadio hammered that ball though. His first penalty was like a rocket, almost carbon copy of the second one, just slightly placement was different, but he hammered that ball, right? Like he gave it his all. One of the things I really enjoyed actually the whole demeanor was after the game when he shunned the president with the handshake, which is very, that was cooked for history. But nevertheless, like, you know what, you know how it means to these players, all of them, right? They're in tears. Like literally, we were talking last week about, the fact that Sadio and Mo, when they are finished playing, honestly, they can be the presidents and prime ministers of their countries, right? I can see them being elected.
Have enough votes for sure.
Right? There's precedent for this, of course, with George Weah.
They have that vibe, they have that following, and these folks are doing so much in the community. Right, just on the pitches, of course, we see that, but then they're building hospitals and schools and whatever else. So kudos to them. And of course, from our standpoint, we had this conversation about like, who do we want to win? Like who are, all of our hypotheses about, okay, are we going to feel bad in this case? We don't want them to lose. And now it's happened. So how do we really feel? Like, Mo was in tears, and Sadio, how we thought it was going to play out actually played out, right? And so now Sadio's getting his moment. And does it kickstart him for the second half of the season being revved up on that side? And does Mo, who already is back in Liverpool, training and ready for tomorrow,
that's
more revved up because he's missed it, right? Like an interesting storylines all over the place for that game.
Actually, just one point on the pen on Sadio's second pen. I don't know if you recall the lead up to that, right? So there's obviously he was pacing, and he was quite nervous, obviously, right? Like the hopes of your nation are on his sort of on his boot, if you will. But as he stepped up, I don't know if you watched closely. Me, just being the fiend or fanatic that I am, I actually watched how he placed the ball. If you notice, the pen spot was worn out, right? So it had the divot in there. So hitting a ball the way he hit it, right, to win the match, obviously win the final, with that divot. I don't know if you all have played before. You know what it is to strike a ball, and for him to hit it clean like that corner, no chance for the keeper. I thought that had like a lot of like just the composure and the moment. Like, I don't know. I thought that was amazing technique. Absolutely. But again, I'm a Sadio fan too.
Absolute nerves of steel. It's like, as you say, and he's been on that point. He's been on the wrong end of penalty heart rate before twice.
Like he's missed one in the last AFCON, and then in the final here, and then step up and take a winning penalty like that.
Fifth pen,
is nerves of steel.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, what a great Liverpool moment, all in all, right? It was great Liverpool.
Absolutely.
It was a great tournament for our best friend and these two gentlemen's best friend, Naby Keita. He played well. So many different storylines that we've already talked about, the concussions, like all kinds of things, going to the pens. Like they all had a great tournament, and kudos to them that performance that they put on the table.
So let's get Mo's back. He's gonna play tomorrow. Like nobody could stop him playing tomorrow. They've given Mane a bit more time, so Mane should be back against Burnley on Sunday. Someone played against Cardiff just on the Sunday gone. We have two different ends of the spectrum here. So as well as being a massive Mane fan, Dan is a massive Naby Keita fan, and Liam not so much. So let's get into
we do not want this to degenerate into Arsenal fan TV style slanging matches. So we'll keep it respectful. Yeah.
So maybe I'll just start with my just fandom enamored sort of take of Naby. I think in the lead up to to LFC making the move for Naby, I think we wanted him even a year before, right? If you recall back when, and Jurgen, being obviously quite the astute operator in the Bundesliga and of German descent, has probably watched a ton of matches. So in that, his scouting, his vision to pick out a player like that and deem him that important to be thrust into this team for that money, I felt says a lot, because again, it's not anybody, it's Jurgen Klopp, right? And at the end of the day, I feel he has such a keen eye, not just him, obviously the scouting team, Michael Edwards and everybody. Naby on the pitch, I get it. I get that. I get the detractors out there. I get why. But my whole point to his worth, if you will, and future worth with Liverpool is he came to us at 24, 25, something like that. I don't know, around that age. But technically on the pitch, when he's on the pitch, more often than not, he is one of our leading attacking forces, obviously behind the front three. But he has a two-way game to it. And the way that we set up doesn't actually help him and his style of game. If you watched him with, in the Bundesliga, he was a box-to-box player, right, at the end of the day. It's similar to Thiago, but he has a little bit more offensive prowess than Thiago was, with Bayern. And so for me, I felt like, injuries have hampered him, cut a lot of his seasons and seasons before. But when he's played, aside from a couple of matches, I'm sure Liam's going to mention these, he's been world class. I'm going to leave it there.
Okay. Well, I think one thing I think we're probably all in agreement on is sort of the raw talent being there. I don't think anyone of sort of fair mind could dispute that. The problem I have is, as we say, the moments where he's been sort of important, and I I totally accept that injuries are a factor in this, have been fleeting and can sometimes sort of change within games. I think the Atletico away Champions League tie is a good case in point, that he scored that stunning volley, and then sort of his performance really tapered off towards the end of that half. But I think more on a general point, I think for someone whose injury record is as bad as it is, I think I'm old enough to know that to have been here before, that we've had the likes of, like, going back to the Houllier days, Vladimir Schmitzer, who just could not catch a break. The moment he got into anything approaching form, he picked up another injury. Similar thing with Aquilani, who's probably a closer stylistic fit, although he's probably more, I think, the Thiago style distributor than Naby, who basically, as you say, the advanced of a midfield three. So I think, and I think in the time that Jurgen's been in charge, our options there have evolved. I mean, we have the likes of Curtis Jones pushing for that position. We've got, although I think he'll ultimately be a winger, Harvey Elliott's done very well there.
Absolutely.
So I think even when everyone is fit and firing, I don't think it's guaranteed that Naby starts necessarily.
So I put this back to you, maybe Azaz as well, which is, if totally fit, and again, there's a lot of ifs here, that being a big if, but the other smaller if being on top form. And I'm saying for any of the midfielders, right? So I'm saying everybody from Harvey to Curtis to Thiago to,
the Champions League team, the Champions League. Champions League final.
Does Naby, saying that, and that doesn't mean, let's say 60 minutes he comes off and that, like, that kind of thing. In a final, does Naby make the cut? Again, throwing out the big if of obviously the fitness and all that, but do you trust him? And for me, I do. But I want to hear your take, Zaz, maybe, or Liam first.
Well, I think all I would say is that he's in contention, but I don't think it's guaranteed.
Right.
I think in terms of some of the other options, I think if you were looking to go bold and sort of maybe someone that's breaking into the box, you go for Harvey. If you want someone that sort of keeps things neat and tidy, but also has a wicked long range shot on him, that Curtis is in contention. So Naby, for all that he offers when he's fit, I don't think he's a guaranteed starter. I think he's in contention, but I wouldn't say 100%.
Fair enough.
My Champions League midfield, it's not about, like, it's not. So I'm in the middle. I think we both know this. We're in the community. We
Come
talk.
on, man, take a side. Take a side.
Oh yeah. Oh no. Don't worry. I will. I'll give you my Champions League midfield. My thing is, for me, the Champions League midfield is Fabinho, Henderson, and Thiago. Like, I feel like it's got everything. It's got the energy. It's got experience. It's got the steel. So if we're starting the Champions League this season, for example, that's where I'm going. If we start to look at, like, the upcoming seasons, like, I'm like all of us, so excited about Harvey. I'm finding it really difficult to say Fabinho, Hendo, and Thiago, and not put Harvey in, just on the sheer romanticism.
Well, the other aspect to this, just as an aside, is that we can't necessarily bank on the fitness of, good as he is, Thiago.
100%.
So,
the other two, like, like, again, nowhere near like Thiago or Keita, but like even Hendo and Fabinho end up missing odd matches here and there. So on paper, the thing that I love about Keita and other players that we've got is we've never had this before. So like, why is it that like we need to worry about this embarrassment of riches about who starts and who doesn't? You know, there's legendary players like Clarence Seedorf, for example. There was period in his career. So first player who won the Champions League with 3 different clubs. There were periods of his career where he used to sit on the bench. Not like he wasn't a substitute. Like Naby Keita isn't a substitute. Like it's about having an embarrassment of riches in your team. Like, you know, you look at Man City, they don't have a number 9, but they've got like 6 or 7, 8
midfielders. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's
how they play.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like for us, it's not even about like, let's get Naby out of the door or let's get him into the team. I feel like Naby is one of the players. Case in point, do we win 5 against at Old Trafford against Man U 5-0 without Naby? I don't think we do, because the fluidity and everything he brought that day is really essential to the way we played that day. Do we lose the Real Madrid match with somebody else there? I don't know if we do. Like, I do think Naby was to blame in that game. So
don't get me wrong. I think with the Man United game, he did play well, unquestionably. But I think that whole day, we were aided and abetted by United's midfield basically disintegrating. I think we've never had it
their
so easy
backline
at Old Trafford.
No, absolutely. And at one point, just on the Naby and sort of like the ultimate midfield for a final or something like that. You know, if you recall back to the 19 final, we started with Fab, Hendo and Genie, right, in that final, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And you know, just thinking about quote unquote the bangers and mash midfield, or the meat and potatoes sort of midfield. You know, I think teams and elite managers like Pep or Klopp or Tuchel, they set up for a final in a different way than, let's say, a league match away at United, or maybe another sort of bigger match where, Klopp was somewhat chastised a bit, right? When we went to Trafford and we had like a massively strong squad and team in that season. Remember, that was the only draw for like 27 games or something that we had in that first 20. We were on unbelievable form, but we set up a bit sort of passively, or I wouldn't, maybe that's the wrong word, but naively, right? And I think he learned that lesson, I feel, or he felt maybe now's the time to put in somebody a little bit more forward thinking and attacking. And the one thing that Naby does really well, and again, there are some downsides in terms of defensively, is dribbling and finding that key pass. And it happened this latest match, with Cardiff, where he found Jota in the first 10 minutes of the game, and it was amazing. So anyway, but we have our Prez back now, so I'll turn it back to Zaz there.
One thing I just want to say before we move off the Naby conversation, and we want Jake to have a say in the Naby chat too, but one thing I want to say about the way we used to previously set up at Old Trafford before this season, I think last season changed Old Trafford in Jurgen Klopp's mind, because we went there with the kids in defense, and we went 1-0 down and we still battered them. So I feel like we had a weird Rafa had it. A bunch of top managers.
It's a mental block, right?
Yeah, we used to have an inferiority complex going to Old Trafford. And then I think last year on that glorious May day in the green, like aqua shirts, like with that defense, I think something went off in Klopp's mind to be like, we don't need to play at Old Trafford in that way, which is why Naby suited the way and Liam, you're absolutely right. Like, Man United were awful that day. They are awful this season. But at the end of the day, like, we're also one of those fan bases, even though the internet doesn't think so, we're also one of those fan bases that sometimes doesn't give ourselves enough credit in certain situations. We made them look that bad. Like, they are bad, but like, they don't lose 5-0.
We were so clinical.
And what I really hated about that whole period was the mainstream media said Man City beat United worse than we did. When Like it was like, oh, they were toying with. No, we were toying with them from 60 onwards. We had just already scored 5 goals, and Naby was a
We
massive
declared on
part.
5.
Yeah, we declared. That's the right word to use, Jake. So where we got to with Naby before the technical, where we got to was Dan's pro Naby. Dan starting him in the Champions League final. Liam isn't. And neither am I. I'm going with Thiago, Hendo, and Fab. Liam, who would you go with in the Champions League final?
Probably those. I think you have to. I think put in as your third. I mean, Fabinho and Thiago are givens because of what they offer. I think with then you need someone that's got the energy who can also put in a defensive shift as well as sort of circulate the ball. And Henderson, when he's on it, still does that.
Absolutely. And by the way, small correction. I would say, I don't know if I would start Naby in the final, but he would be in contention as Liam is well, properly articulated. Sorry, Jake.
I mean, from the midfield perspective, I think Hendo's got a bit of a back problem at the moment, so he's going to be out. But I would do that because of a few things. One being we need that kind of his drive and his like kind of his gaffer kind of spirit where like he's giving shit to all these people, being like, you got to move here, ball here, pass, like move. Like he's doing that, and he's keeping them honest. He's keeping that completely honest. So I would completely take him, and I would completely take Fab. He's our destroyer. He's our new Mascherano. And of course, I need a little bit of technical skills because we need to be moving that ball fast. And I think Thiago is one of those guys that would knock on wood. He's fit. I don't know if you saw that chip the other day on the thing.
I saw that.
Like with his eyes closed, like he's got skill beyond skill, right? And so those are the 3 spots. Like if they're healthy, knock on wood, that I would choose in that mid for sure.
On the Hendo thing, the other day when because we'll get on to Cardiff next, but just as we segue into Cardiff, it was really funny. Klopp was doing a few experiments the other day against Cardiff. We've got a big run coming up. And there was a moment, I don't know if you caught it, where Hendo looks at him like, are we doing this? Like, is this, so he's the captain, he's the manager on the pitch, right? Like it hadn't yet been communicated to him that certain changes were happening. And he's the first one who takes responsibility to be like, did that happen by accident? Or like, are we deliberately playing this way? So that leadership as well is always very necessary. Jake, because you have just jumped back on, I'm going to turn Cardiff over to you. That was glorious. I know you touched on it before, but like, talk to us about the Harvey moment. I know you spoke about Diaz before, but like Harvey, like what was that all about the other day?
Like, if we remember, like this is like a young boy, right? And he's a lifelong Liverpool fan. We see the pictures of him in the kits. And then when he was playing, I know at some point in time he was a bit hesitant because he was playing and he was getting into the team, but we were doing so well. Then that injury, we're literally all died because that's our son basically. That was our son, and he got injured, and we were like mortified, right? And to think that he at such a young age he could play with those players at the pace, right? He just played within himself, no more, no less. He knew what he had to do. He knew what he was dealing with. Enough training sessions, and then he got on. And then the whole place was elated, right? Jumping for joy, singing his name, which was fantastic. And for him to take that pass, which was a great pass, by the way, and then take that spin and put that into the net was like astonishing. And seeing, of course, then going over to the crowd and seeing his dad cheering as well, and literally in tears saying, "My boy has done this. This is all we've been waiting for and wishing for. He's done this. He's broken his duck. He's done this on the grandest scale from a Liverpool perspective." And it was just a beautiful moment for all of us that he's back now. He's in contention for everything moving forward. And of course, you know that when you have a serious injury as well, when you get on that pitch and you get hit, the first time you get hit, it boggles the mind and jars the mind, and you're like, am I okay? Am I okay? Like, am I stable? And he's getting hit in training as well, but am I okay? And can I push forward? And he completely persevered to exactly what we want. And now we see him in the positions we need him And now he's like, oh, we have another conduit to add to this, right? Which is fantastic to see, which is a beautiful moment for all of us.
Liam, what was your hot take on the Diaz cameo?
Well, I mean, it's sort of summed up really by his contribution to the second goal. I think that sort of summed it up. That sort of putting pressure, pinning sort of the defenders deep, forcing the error, and then it's sort of like basically served up on a plate for Minamino. Yeah, it's an encouraging start, and all the voices, the noises that are coming out right now, it's like the sort of expressions of astonishment, like people are thinking we've got a real player on our hands with this guy.
Klopp signing as well. Like Salah was not like Klopp's first choice. We know that it was Julian Brandt he was going for. Keita was. We touched on that before, but like the crazy thing about this is Klopp's boy as well. Like Klopp is the one that wanted him. But before that, we also scored a amazing like now Liverpool goal, which is an assist by Trent and a goal by Jota. Dan, you have to score the first goal to see all this gravy on top of it. And two very, very, very reliable players who are going to be huge for us in the next few weeks came up trumps again, hey?
Absolutely. And, folks in the mainstream media, if you watch some of the summary shows, PL productions, all that kind of stuff, they rave about Jota's sort of emergence in the pushing really Bobby for that spot. And I think what goes a bit under the radar with Liverpool fans, right? I mean, we're very much concentrated on the transfer market and the budget and our ownership and investments and all that kind of stuff. Slowly but surely, we've invested correctly to now position ourselves for essentially, let's say Klopp 2.0, but maybe Stevie 1.0 or whoever that next sort of manager comes in after. And if you look at the squad, I mean, Harvey's one, Curtis obviously, Trent. I mean, you just mentioned it, 15 assists in all competitions and I think 23 matches or something like that, or a little bit more. Like that's just astonishing. Like that's De Bruyne levels, and De Bruyne is even not at that. Maybe even close or maybe on par, let's say, just to be safe. I mean, just think about it. He's what, 22, 23, I think, right? Just astonishing, to borrow Jake's word of the day. But yeah, no, I honestly think that finish, the glancing header, far post, it's just classic Trent and finding that ball. And funny enough, it reminded me a lot of the James Milner to Taki equalizer at Leicester. It was a similar ball that came in, and Taki obviously credit finishing the second goal as well, by the way, who has now more goals than I think Lukaku, Ronaldo. No, it wasn't Ronaldo, but there was like three big signings this year or something like that.
Messi, he's got more goals than
Messi. And and it's like Taki's not that bad, man. We only paid seven million pounds for the guy, so like let's get real here. He's been great thus far and his role for us. So yeah, great goal.
One thing about Diego is that for a guy who's 5'8", maybe 5'7", 8, 9,
I think
maybe?
it's deceptive because he's sort of because he's in a team with the likes of Virgil, Joel Matip, right? He's probably closer to around my height, so about 5'11". But it's even so, it's like what is remarked upon it a lot is his leap, his timing for getting in there. I'm sure we've all seen those the memes that have been circulating of the two different cats. One that looks like he's skating on a curvature, and the other one leaping, and it's like Trent Cross Diogo header. So it's very.
Hopefully, Kurt Zuma wasn't part of that. But anyway, sorry, that was. I know, it's not for this pod, but that's just despicable. Sorry,
no, but it's not for this pod. Like we're definitely not gonna not put that one down.
No one on this pod. Sorry, Sam, condones animal abuse.
Yeah, nobody does.
Agreed. So the holders are out. Leicester are out. Man United are out. That was hilarious. Arsenal are out from the previous round. this is low key building up. Like, it's just opening up. We got another home draw against Norwich, and then let's say we beat Norwich, one more game, we might get a home draw again. You never know. They might go Man City on us and give us another easier match again. And we're at Wembley again for the semi-final. So who's in for a cup run here?
I think it's very feasible. The only side that's really, as you've touched upon with those that have gone out, the only one that I don't think is that I think we might struggle in, or there isn't sort of like I'm erring towards us winning, would be Man City. It's like, I think if we draw Chelsea right now, we beat them. Put it that way.
Even though they're favourites in the Carabao Cup Final, and we'll talk about that in the build-up to that.
They've been rotten for months. It's like,
yeah. There's something wrong with the chemistry there, just in the dressing room. It seems like there was something that was talked about how they're celebrating after a goal, and it was like they were not that ecstatic about it. So it was just crazy.
But it doesn't strike me as being a particularly happy place. And Tuchel gets like this with sometimes it can be a very prickly character. That you saw, I think, with him sort of throwing Lukaku under the bus for what was admittedly a very ill-advised interview. But I think that's the kind of thing that doesn't go down well in a dressing room. And I think, it's easier for Abramovich, and he's done this before, to dispense with the manager than to dispense with however many players are in Chelsea's gargantuan squad. So...
Gargantuan, that's another word that Liam has just thrown in. Okay, we're going to take this home with a look to what is now going to be a jam-packed week. So I'm going to give you each a game to quickly look forward to. We can all do predictions like we always do. I feel like Dan's doing really well with predictions right now as well. So there's Leicester tomorrow. There's Burnley on Sunday. There's Inter Milan. I believe that Inter will have happened by the time we record next week's pod. That's right. So who wants to talk about Leicester?
So Leicester, I read the rumors that Leicester, like Vardy, may be out.
Okay.
So that's a huge, he's always been a thorn in our side. He's a hustler. He's a great player. Like, his story is fantastic, from the glass cutter or whatever the case is to being that prominent Leicester striker for years. And kudos to him to be in that space. So I think they do have some injuries. And I think also, I want to say that I think the major defeat that we gave them, right, the other day is in their head a little bit. I think Brendan was kind of, mentioning some of that and to change that kind of mentality for this fixture. So let's just see how it goes. I think from a prediction standpoint, I think it's going to be a tough game. I don't know who we're going to start, right? That's an interesting one because we have a plethora of talent that's available and fit. So I don't know who's going to actually start, but I'm going to say we're going to be winning 2-1.
2-1. Dan?
I think we're going to blow them out. I don't know if you guys caught the clips on social media kind of fiend that I am. I saw the Leicester players celebrating after they lost the last match. That. I don't know if you saw the same thing, which is kind of like just shows you the mentality of where they are. And Brendao, as Liam would affectionately appreciate. Cheers. Yeah. No, I think we're going to blow them out, and because we have an angry mole, we have depth, we have all sort of guns there to fire on. So I would say 3-0, or even higher, maybe even 4-0. I can't see us losing this. Knock on wood, because we know.
Liam?
I'm going to similarly confident. I think I'll go 3-1. I think probably I can see them sort of during a moment where we're getting sort of lax. Maybe we've got sort of control over the game, sort of like Maddison scores one from 25 yards or something. But it's like we've seen this film before from latter days at a club, Brendan. We know how this one's going and how it's going to end. So I think this is where Leicester are at right now, and I think with pretty much close to a full squad, I think that's one we box off fairly comfortably.
So are you saying this is going to be 6-1 Stoke? Liverpool last match of the season, Brendan in charge? Is that where you're going there?
Who did Leicester have on the last day of the season? I think they lose to them 6-1.
Okay, fair enough. Sorry,
remember we owe them as well. We owe them a couple
the 1-0, right? Yeah,
the 1-0, and even last year, like the Kabak and Allison mix-up as well. Like we dominated them that day. Both
of those games.
Yeah.
Admittedly, in the one after Christmas, we were a bit toothless, but they scored with the one opportunity they had, and as you rightly say, the 3-1 last season was a smash and grab on their part. So,
which is weird because it was a 3-1.
We owe them a pasting. So.
Absolutely.
And then Dan, there is Burnley, who obviously just frustrated the hell out of rivals down the road. What do you think for a Sunday morning? Well, it's Sunday afternoon.
I think that's going to be a tougher.
Yeah.
No, I think that's going to be a tougher fixture. It's set. No, this is away, right? At Turf Moor, right?
Turf Moor, yeah.
So it's it's the crowd. It's their style. It's Sean Dyche. It's the smash and grab sort of thing. I mean, it's more smash than grab, or maybe both. But Jay Rodriguez, he has a bit of class in him since the Southampton days. If you remember him and Lallana teaming up way back when, but he always seems to do it to us. So I think. We have to be on our toes, obviously defensively, all that, but I still fancy us winning, but by a narrower margin. I would say 2-1. I think they get a goal by set pieces. That's their big thing, right? Crowd the box, bully Allison. At the end of the day, that's generally how those sorts of teams work. But they did well, I guess, against United. I mean, again, United being very toothless, whatever. But in that match, they sort of grew into the match, and you can see that in the second half they actually were much better than the other team.
United got into some positions as well that if we get into the same positions, like we'll score a bunch of goals of those. So I don't necessarily find Burnley as daunting as before. Liam, score prediction. So you went 2-1.
I did. Yeah.
2-1.
Liam.
I would go 2-0 on this one. I think they probably frustrate, but I think losing. Now we can talk about how amusing it is for Newcastle to spend the House of Saud cash on Chris Wood, but I think what it does do is weaken Burnley significantly. I think there's one aerial weapon fewer that we'll have to deal with in that game. And I think sort of quietly Burnley have been becoming sort of less of a thorn in people's side. I think it's it's not as daunting a place to go as it used to be. So I can see us sort of maybe taking a while to get going, but once we do, sort of comfortable win. I'll say 2-0.
Jake?
I mean, on top of the Man United comment, I think right now our LFC Toronto Sunday side can beat Man U right now. That's the state they're in right now. But nevertheless,
flames, man.
Nevertheless, Liam does make a great point. Their mark, their big, tree in the front that they just look for long balls to hold up. He's gone, right? So he's gone to Newcastle now. So I think that what does Sean Dyche play? Does he play parking the bus? It's not necessarily his style, right? He does try to be a bit adventurous, even though he doesn't have the talent. But he does. If he's going to play out like that, I think we're going to win 3-0, right? If he does park the bus, I think if that happens, then it's going to be a squeaker. Squeaker. I think 1 or 2-0 would be that premise. I don't see them unless we have an off moment and we just go back to sleep. We go to sleep, and they get a chance. Other than that, I think it's going to be 2-0. I think it'll be 2-0. Depending on
we talked about the players returning from AFCON. I think that Burnley get a big one back with Maxwell Cornet.
Yeah.
So that could be sort of something that we have to look out for. But I think increasingly it's like if Cornet doesn't play well, then neither do Burnley. So
right.
Good point.
And Liam, I'm gonna give you the last one, which is the big one. The big one, because I think we all love the Champions League. Those late night under the lights set on those 3 p.m. business meetings, that we're talking about. How do you see that one going?
Well, I think now this is where I sort of crowbar in the references I talked about. So I think given that we've got everyone back, I think there will be no surprises in terms of the team selection. Everything in its right place. So like full complement, and I think we are facing Inter at a good moment. This is not to sort of take it seriously or be sort of well prepared, but they're coming off the back of losing the Milan derby, and there are sort of, you hear sort of the talk on the wires. It's like people talk about this Inter side being sort of flat track bullies. They're very good at beating up on the lower ranks in the league, but when it comes to the big games, even domestically, they tend to get found wanting. And I think they lost both their games against Real Madrid.
They did. Yeah. Because Real Madrid needed to correct that FC Sheriff result, so they did it against Inter. Yeah.
So I think we're coming up against them at a good point in time. I think so long as we're professional and on it, then. So remind me, is the first leg away or
San Siro? Yeah, Anfield's the second leg.
I can see us doing much the same as we did against their cross-city rivals. I'm going to go 2-1.
2-1. 2 away goals.
Yeah.
Actually, is there away goals banned finished this year or from next season?
I think it may.
It's finished this year, so there's
this
no
season.
away goals.
Okay, so no away goals.
Yeah.
Okay, so just 2-1, which is a great result. Jake, into next week. This time next week.
I think that when we're playing against these continental teams, they're not going to sit back. They need to perform. So as a result of that, if they come out, and we're going to get spaces all over the park. So I think they have a few injuries as well. There's one big Italian player that's on the national team that is injured for them, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But nevertheless, as Liam said, they lost the derby, so they're going to be a bit hurt from that perspective. But if they come out to play, we're going to find gaps. We're going to move that ball, and I think I'm predicting a 2-0 win.
2-0. And Dan?
So it's a bit of karma police that I think, shout out to Liam's Radiohead references there earlier. Sorry, you thought you could get that past me. No way, man. But anyway.
I was thinking of working Leicester, but...
Yeah, no, I know. I was thinking about it, but I'm not going to be a paranoid android here. I'm going to say that we come out the exact same that we did with with AC Milan, especially away at the San Siro. I think it would be all business. Jurgen wants this thing even more than the domestic cups, and I think I think the rotation is really going to matter, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we have 3 matches, within the span of a week, roughly, right? And so. I think that rotation is going to serve us well. I think he's actually going to play more of the kids potentially in, I think tomorrow or Burnley. So I think maybe Tyler Morton might get a run. Obviously Harvey, Kurt as well. But that Inter away match is going to be our strongest 11, and it'll be cool to see because we haven't seen that in a while. So in terms of score predictions, I would say. It's always tough away, but we do well. I'll say 3-1. 3-1. Sadio's back as well. Yeah.
I kind of feel like I think everyone's on the same tip. I think it's like we're going to go there and win, which is huge for our confidence as well. But for some reason, I kind of feel like they're going to keep the tie alive a little bit as well. Just because they're not a bad team. I think the league they play in is pretty bad though. So I feel like it's very, very hard to be a flat track bully like they are, you can't even then step up and be like I mean, it's not even a vintage Real Madrid team, but like, look at how easily we dealt with AC Milan other than 5 minutes in the first leg, in the first game at Anfield. But for some reason, I just have a feeling that like they'll rise up to the occasion as well. So yeah, I think it'll stay alive to the Anfield game. But if we did blow them out, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I feel like tomorrow could be a blowout because they're not doing well. I don't think we'll blow Burnley out. But if we were to blow out Inter, I wouldn't be overly shocked. But my prediction would be that it's going to be alive for the next game. Cool. Well, that kind of takes us home. Just want to say thank you to Liam for joining us today. We've been excited to have you on.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been a blast.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Cheers.
Yeah.
The time flies.
Appreciate your Naby views.
Hey, we like I say, we stopped it degenerating into Arsenal fan TV. So I think we did all right there.
It has to be that way. Just one more time before we do wrap up, from the LFC Toronto side, please do register for the free ticket to the final of your choice. Still lots of space at Maddie and the Elephant and Castle if you're downtown Toronto, but it is filling up as well. So if you are looking to bring a bigger group, get on it soon. And then Sly Fox. So Mississauga, Oakville, Brampton, Hamilton,
West Side,
yeah, West Side people, West Side till I die. You know, we've got that option as well, and we're excited for the GTA show to hit the road as well. So get on that, and obviously join us tomorrow. I won't be there actually. Jake probably will. Join us tomorrow if you can, and then Sunday morning as well at the Maddie as well, right?
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Cool, everyone. And obviously hit the subscribe, hit the like, share it with your Liverpool friends. We're just getting started, so we need all the support. So thank you, everyone, and see you next time.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Yeah, guys.